And we are back. It is another episode of the Lyrical Ones podcast. This is episode where we at? 18?
That's it.
Episode 18. This is the second verse, the second bar, episode 18. Make it complicated for everybody. So, for those that have gotten used to kind of our routine and how we've done things, this will be somewhat of a departure from us doing our usual interviews. And this is kind of going touching base to where we started with the current pulse and commentary on what's going on right now. So, with that, June, how are you?
What's going on, Sin? What's going on, Alex? I'm doing quite well in this day and age. I mean, there's a lot of things on my mind, even more things I want to say, but we'll get there.
Okay, okay. I feel the energy. I feel the vibrations. Affluent, how we doing? You. It looks like different
I,
surroundings. I don't see the cloth. What's going on? I'm
oh,
digging this shirt. Had
you
to,
know, I just didn't want to distract. I just didn't want to distract from the shirt. The cloth is here, but we're gonna save that for another time. Just right now, life is very interesting, and I'm excited because there's changes going on. I'm all about change, man. And as a people, as a human race, in a world that's changing, we're gonna have to change with it if we want to stick this thing out. And it's about time that we made some long needed past due changes. And I think we're in a space where we can see kind of the light and see as well as the apparent darkness that we're in. Um, but things are good. I'm feeling good. You know, I'm happy to be here with you guys. Sin, how you feeling?
well, you know, I appreciate you putting a perspective on me, and I'm feeling what y'all saying. I'm picking up on what y'all putting down, and right now, when you said cloth talk, like that's that cloth talk. That's that we cut from a different cloth, and
Mm.
it's a situation of you know unfathomable things right now. This is to me, I'm on high alert. I'm ready for battle. I'm ready for and this ain't on the physical plane. This is the metaphysical, this is the spiritual, this is the individual mental, this is holistically my family. This is so much more than what's obvious to those that are, dealing and living with it now, right? So right now I'm cool, but they got me messed up. They got me all the way messed up. I'm talking about every level, everybody tripping. And so, what better way than to do it in a productive way than to share it with the good folks who listen to the Lyrical Ones podcast. So just to kind of open it up, just to kind of just dive into the deep end, how does everybody feel about the debate last night? What are people's thoughts? What are the takeaways? What are the sentiments, feelings? I mean, we could see it on the shirt, black folk must vote. But June, what is kind of where are you at with it?
The takeaways, actually, thank you so much for asking, Sin. I appreciate it. But I did want to piggyback real quick on what Alex said about the change that needs to happen. And I think we are the agents of change. So if we don't change and make a conscious decision to put forth mechanisms to produce the change that we ideally as a society can be proud of, ain't gonna happen. So back to the debate though. Why you gotta ask me that first? Because honestly, the biggest takeaway is I hear a lot of people saying, oh, President Donald Trump, he's not condemning white supremacists. I hear a lot of what he's not doing. So can we just flip it on its head, the logic real quick? Because what he is doing is he's telling white supremacists, okay, go, stand by. He's giving them the green light to, so I just find it detestable on on every level. Yeah, it's America about to be shook. Okay, if voters don't get to the polls and produces a change that the the collective can ideally agree with. So that's my 2 cents.
Fluent, where you sitting with it?
My takeaway is that it's obvious and apparent that the two candidates don't really care about Black people outside of uh, their ability to vote, um, their ability to, get elected. Um, so yeah, as tools for being elected, that's the as far as the candidates care about being about Black people and their wellness, their well-being. I think it's interesting that Donald Trump brought up Joe Biden's record in law enforcement and how he's trying to create this arc of liberalism. And at the same time, we know Joe Biden has been on one side of uh, privatized prisons, um, and filling those things up to the brim as much as he can. And we know Donald Trump don't really care about people of color, past getting elected, and he'll say anything and pay anybody or have somebody else pay him because he don't really like money coming out of his hands. Um,
Let's talk about his
to
taxes.
right, yeah, well, like he really don't like money coming out of his hands, and you know, I guess I need to get to the shop a little bit more so I could expense those hairstylings, up to $70,000 worth. Um, I guess if the lyrical ones is a thing, then I guess an entity, then I guess we gotta get our expenses right, guys, and get those write-offs going. As as personalities, you know, Cineo, if you keep the mask clean, that dry cleaning for the mask, you gotta write that off. But yeah, my biggest takeaway is just that uh, the candidates are just you know kind of immature in their debating. You say Joe Biden interrupted the president 38 times. Uh, Donald Trump interrupted Joe Biden 118 times. Um, and Chris Wallace, did the best he could, but I think kindergarten teachers do a better job, and they underpaid, to paraphrase, some of the Twitter scope out there, Twitterverse. It's one of those things where we got to see that it's a show. It's really just about the stock market and influence and shareholders, influence and investors to shift things around as the market is in a bad way. It's in bad shape, and it's on us to elect a new district attorney in our states. It's on us to um, elect new mayors, new district supervisors in our cities. Um, and if we don't do it, we're just watching somebody else decide our fate and electing people who don't care about us. And we see that happening not just in legislation, but in policies and the way they show up when things hit the fan, and violence and harm show up in our communities. When the National Guard shows up in our towns, in our cities, and we don't have our elected officials defending us, um, that's on us because we're the ones who voted for them.
No, that's real. I mean, I like to. I know it's a complicated situation, but I will say that in Portland, in the state of Oregon, that the mayor more or less has been trying to keep that at bay, right? Like, yeah, there's law enforcement there, and that's one level, that's one part. But in terms of taking on the federal and the national support of law enforcement, the mayor of Portland has been trying to keep that at bay. And the thing is, people kind of confuse the idea of having order as it being the norm, right? And it's like we don't live in the norm anymore. We don't live anywhere in the norm. The norm has changed. This is the new norm. I don't come with the expectation of when we have a vaccine. I don't come with the expectation of when racism is over. Racism is happening right now, and there are people dying from a pandemic, right? So I'm not going to sit and wait for a normal that may never come. I'm going to go out and get what I got to get right now. And so when I watch the debate, it is true, right? You got to look at it and without letting your emotions dictate what you're hearing. Your emotions will dictate and filter out what it is you're trying to get, right? Like, selective hearing versus active listening, right? Like, you got to be really mindful of what's being said to you. And it's true. Joe Biden has made a career within politics, right? He benefited by being paired with Obama. It was a strategic move. It was done to appease and please a lot of people who may have had fears or hesitancies around Obama being president, right? But what did it do? It established that he's going to have somebody that's going to anchor some of the political changes or the political kind of implementation of what you're trying to get across, right? It gives you security knowing, oh, this man been around. He knows what's up. No, but what does he really know what's up? Politics in large part have been one of the best ways to oppress people of color. That's just what it is. We can't get around that. As much as we know and as much as we learn, we still coming in with the short end of the stick or we're not informed, right? Look no farther than the Michelle Obama documentary when she's saying, yeah, you got us into office, but you stopped voting when it came to every interval and every level of dealing with politics, right? And so what happens? You get a shutdown, right? You get these situations that occur where change can happen, but because we're not talking about our state legislation, we're not talking about congressmen or senators, we're not really engaging with the whole system and the practice. But at the same time, who's going to educate us? Who's going to deliver the message? So when I'm watching this debate, I'm like, I already know. I'm looking at the, you either the devil you know or the devil you don't, right? And the thing is, in this case, we kind of know both of these demons, right? We know them, right? We know that Joe Biden comes from the traditional sense of what politics is, which is the veiled attempt of change on an incremental level, right? We gonna give you a marginal increase of something to make you feel better. When in reality, we're just putting your hands behind your back. We just gonna change the type of cuffs. We gonna take it from handcuffs to zip ties, right? Like the restraint changes, but we're still being restrained right
Right.
now it's like we got to look at it in the scope of what is Joe Biden really doing. So to me it's like, okay, I got to look at who's across from him having this conversation or this argument or this debate or this temper tantrum, and I'm looking at my boy Donnie T. And to me, this was like a significant moment of validation was when he was asked to condemn white supremacy. And when I seen him get on his grease and his butter and slide around the skillet to avoid touching the frying pan, I was like, here goes Donnie T doing what he do best. He didn't
Right.
condemn it, he condones it.
Because he's
Right.
greasy.
Right. And so, right, I have to be careful in what I say. I mean, it's real. People don't think fat meat is greasy. Well, look no farther than what we saw on the screen, right? It's slipping through your hands. This ain't no, this is grease. This is what it is. It is what it is, right? And I'm not saying it as a way of enabling. I'm saying that as don't lie to me, right? I have had so many conversations and so many different like arguments around like people's support of Donald Trump and how to see it from a different lens. Last night it got cut off because he couldn't condemn something that is wrong. That's just I've been impacted. I've said it on previous episodes. When my father went to the DMV and they talking about trying to deportation and like not acknowledging his citizenship, I'm like, this is because of how this man has shown up. Because this didn't happen before. We didn't have these conversations. This wasn't when I go through the mission and I don't see no families in the mission. That's because he's weaponized ICE to come through, right? Like we got to really understand like this is not the same and this is nowhere near what like even the pacification of people of color in the past. This man has went into the stratosphere of like, oh yeah, no, I mean, he was asked today. I seen on news. They were like, what do you say to people? Do you welcome white supremacy? And the first thing out of his mouth is, I believe law and order. So now what you've done is you've associated it with law and order, right?
Right.
Which then is scary to me because it's like I know it's some people with some hoods on that's still with a badge, right? I know that, but now it's giving a level of validation. It's being seen. What does a kid got to do? Right? I know it's a baby out there right now gonna piss on the rug just to get seen. They mama gonna get mad, probably whoop them, probably be so pissed off. But guess what? They got seen. They gonna sit up there and act out and give the attention. They go, I mean, whether they in class or they on Zoom, they just want to be seen. And now what
Yeah.
you've done as the president, as their leader, right? You sat up there and you let them know, I see you and I'm speaking to you. Just wait. Just hold on. Because he's not going to come out and say verbatim, word for word, I condemn racism. I condemn people who are racist. He can't say it because his father was arrested with the KKK in New York. People don't realize that this is in his family, right? We think that this is just him showing up as a spoiled brat when you don't realize, no, there's a seed, there's roots. This been growing for a minute. So to me, when I'm looking at the screen and I'm seeing him validate all of my fears, when I see him validate my frustrations, when I see him validate racism, because that's what he's doing, he's validating. I'm in the space in the place of being like, okay, well, you know what? I know what I need to do, right? I know where I need to invest my time and energies because I've been saying this, I'm gonna say it again. We haven't had, to me, any real leaders who are American descendants of slavery. I just haven't seen it, right? Think about it. Obama, as much as we consider him black, he isn't an American descendant of slavery, right? When I think of Kamala Harris, right? She black, but in terms of being an American descendant of slavery, right? She does have
Right.
Jamaican roots, but being in terms of this country and the generations and the implications of what slavery has done to us, people who come from here. I'm not trying to minimize, I'm not trying to denounce. I'm just saying, can you really tell me you know what I need if you've never been in my shoes? Can you really speak to my grandmother when you ain't, like my grandmama was picking cotton? Like, when what her mama was doing, what her mama's mama was doing. Like, who are you going to cater to? Who are you going to deliver? Right? I'm mindful of that. I'm not saying that I got a lot of choices, but I'm saying I got a choice I need to make. Right? And so, yeah, it is important that people vote because as you can see, as much as they both don't care about us, I mean, we going in one direction versus the other right now, right? And it's like maybe we headed to the same destination and we might take a slight left. We might take a hard right. But I'm leaning towards a slight left versus a hard right. Read
Right.
between the lines, right? Because what's been going on and what's impacted me and what I've seen, I mean, I'm all about totality and change. That's what I'm about. I stand on it. I'm sitting here looking at what happened last night and how it's reinforced within this conversation I'm having doing an interview, right? Where I'm in the other me, the me without the mask. I'm in my organization with the people who support me. And the conversation to me is moving away from who are we gonna hire that I'm gonna have to work with on a daily basis and management and leadership are thinking of, well, who's the best candidate for what we want to see in that position? I'm the one that's been here. I'm the one that's still here. And I'm telling you, I'm probably going to be here when this next person leaves. So when you tell me that you're going to think about what you want versus what I need, look, I told them straight up in the meeting, George Floyd was my personal Jesus. There's me prior and there's me after. I am a new person. I'm here. You're going to have to take into consideration what I need when it comes to this position because I'm the one that called it out the first time. I'm the one that told them. I'm the one that still has the relationship. I know what's going on with that person to this day. It ain't no hard, harmful, meaning, like deceitful, none of that. I'm not here to disrespect. I'm here to keep it real. So if
Right.
I'm gonna tell you what's up, then you need to actually take into account my experiences and what I've brought to the table, right? Because I can't help but think you were one of the same people who thought it was a good idea to allow people to have conversations that we segregated our organization, right? I'm I can't lose sight of that. I'm the one that called it out. I'm the one that had to speak up about it. I'm not gonna sit here and let y'all try to dictate to me when y'all ain't never stepping up for me in the first place. That's the narrative. That's the conversation. I'm not going to allow people to keep telling me what's up when I know what's up. When I've, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't ruffle the feathers. Maybe I shouldn't stir the pot. Maybe I shouldn't get in the way, right? Maybe I shouldn't say that. No, 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 no. I seen we got here because I didn't say nothing. Now I got to say something every single time I see it. You going to grow tired of it. I've been tired of it. You going to ask me how I'm feeling? I'm going to tell you I'm mad. I'm going to tell you the day I be happy is when it ends. So until then, I'm just going to be enraged, right? So I'm looking at the situation last night and I'm laughing at the fact that, yeah, Donnie T comes off like a 5-year-old and, Uncle Joey B looking like kind of old grandpa uncle, where it's like, I'm too tired to deal with this little ungrateful child. Somebody come and get him before I put my hands on him. Right. And so to me, it's like, this is where we are. This is who y'all thought was the best candidate, right? Y'all really got the dude who you got like the dude that's off the cuff who's like, yeah, 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 yeah. I'm just gonna put the finger at you and I'm gonna blame you and I'm gonna say it's all your fault. And then you got the other guy who's like, I'm gonna look at the camera. I'm gonna look like a president. I'm gonna do the rehearsed, very generic thing in this moment. As much as it is generic, I ain't gonna lie. For a moment, it was slightly comforting because I was like, dang, this is kind of a return to like the old way where it was like, I am for you. What are you gonna do? Yeah, I could tell you what the answer is, but I think it's more important that you get out there and vote. I could tell you what I have on the plan and the agenda, but we could wait till you put me in office and let it be a surprise. I represent you, but I'm not going to say what I think we all need. I'm just going to say y'all kind of tell me and then I'll tell you after.
Yep. I just repeat what you thinking
Exactly, right? Whereas the other
after you
dude's
tell me
like,
what you thinking.
exactly. The other dude's like, I don't care. I'm gonna do what I want to do. This is my people's. I'm not gonna condemn them. I'm gonna say it's all about law enforcement and Tifa. They an organization. They running amok. They hurting people. We ain't gonna talk about all the racism and the deaths, the atrocities, travesties that have taken place. We're just gonna blame you, your previous administration, and say I am the best thing ever, right? And so to me, yes, it was a mess. Yes, it was definitely it was, I mean, I can't say it's stressful. Like I'm on the West Coast, it's on fire. There's nothing but smoke in the air. I'm in a pandemic. Stress kind of is the new norm, right? I'm enraged all the time. I just accepted that I can communicate it to people and not care about how they feel about it. Cause this I'm it's a new me, right? New time, new era. I'm showing up for my people because I'm not gonna allow you to do what you've done to me to the future. Not gonna happen. It just can't. I refuse to be an accomplice. I refuse to be complicit, and I refuse to be compliant. I'm sitting there telling the principal of a school, and they getting pink and red in the face. And I'm like, yeah, feel all this sauce I got to give you because I'm cooking right now. I'm giving you that food for thought. You could chew on this. This got fiber, nutrition, vitamins, every bit of mineral that you need. It is essential. These are the vital amino acids to help you build your brain because you haven't been given this. What y'all been doing? Pissing down everybody back saying it's rain. So, that's my take on the debate as far as what I saw. Hey, you got to get it. You see what he doing? This isn't an advertisement. This is him saying you got to get those branch chain amino acids. They are essential. I have my own. They're fermented. Everybody does what they do, but it's about your health. It's about sustainability. At the end of the day, it is about sustainability. Like, don't get it twisted. We get mad, we get enraged, we get energized, we get excited, but we have to be able to manage that, sustain that, and make sure that it's healthy. So everybody be mindful, right? Those branch chain amino acids is for you to be able to repair the harm that you do to your body in order to make it what it needs to be. And as we could see last night, I don't think them gentlemen took any branch chain amino acids in the past 10 to 20 years or even consider or thinking about it. And to me, that's a travesty in itself, because as a leader of this country, I would hope you would take your health into vital consideration. So, that's my thoughts of the debate, y'all.
Thank you, Sin. Thank you for sharing with us and giving us that flavorful food for thought. Somewhat spicy, not too spicy. I think we were able to handle that and digest it evenly. I really appreciate that. It's we're at a crossroads, another crossroads, as a country, where we can either sweep some things under the rug again, or we can actually clean up the mess and get it out the living room. Um, and I mean the room that we're living in, the space that we share together, is important that we say this common area, this common world that we live in, where it's worth changing, right? It's worth adjusting, for the betterment of everyone's quality of life. And if we don't navigate from a place of we've done wrong, there are others doing wrong, and there's an opportunity to make a difference. There's an opportunity for us to say these people don't care about us as a whole, and they're intent on lining our pockets. They're intent on turning us against each other. They're intent on um, seeing danger and harm be a normal way, and fear be a normal emotion in our everyday lives. And instead of any kind of peace, any type of progress um, towards justice, that is not their goal. Um, and we have to think about the building blocks that make things better for us. When it comes to food safety, when it comes to um, being able to walk the streets at night, when it comes to protecting women of color, when it comes to violence, when it comes to the domestic violence, when it comes to police brutality, when it comes to financial literacy and security, when it comes to um, having shelter. These things are the branch chain amino acids of living a quality life, and building a life that you can thrive in. And when you don't have an opportunity to repair the injustice that's been prevalent in American history, then all we're doing is depleting what we have, until there is nothing left, until all we have is division at every turn, where we can't trust our neighbor, and we're just waiting for someone to incite more violence, incite change that harms us instead of helps us.
And I want to say on top of that, for those that don't know, in the state of California, October 19th, that is when you need to.
My birthday.
October 19th is June's birthday, so it's a day to remember. But also, when it comes to voting, it's important because that's when your votes, your mail-in votes, need to be in the, put in the mail. Get in the mail. Get it in there, because they will try to find ways to maneuver and groove, all in finessing what we trying to make happen, right? Like, you vote November 3rd in person, but if you're trying to get it in and make it count, I heard that they're coming. They should be coming October, actually next week, October 6th, October 3rd. So
Yeah, they should be on their way. They should be coming out. the
So
end of
be
this
on the
week.
lookout, people. Be on the lookout, right? This may come out soon, this may come out later, but it's gonna come out on time. And I need y'all to really pay attention to the dates and the times, right? Right now, as we record this, is September 30th. It's a Wednesday night. But when you receive this message, it is important that you pay attention to the calendar on your phone, the calendar on the wall, and look at the date because those dates are important. But I do got this spicy bite that I just want to drop. Cause when you were saying all that and I was thinking about it, I had this thought earlier today and I was like, if we really was talking about equality and fairness, we need to have women-led governments and men sit in the minority seat for the next couple thousand years. If we really talking about being fair,
We,
I'm like,
we
if we
talk
talking about
talk
being
about it.
fair, we need to know what it means to be that minority stakeholder when it comes to leadership and really let women drive the vehicle for a hot minute. I'm talking about some generations on generations to really then have the conversation be, okay, what does equality look like after we've experienced those centuries, right? Because when I'm thinking of these two men, right, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at California Representative, I believe her name. I don't want to butcher her name, so you're gonna have to bear with me as I struggle to put the password in my phone for those that get the audio only version of this. Katie Porter, right? I seen this video of Katie Porter. She's talking to an executive of a cancer drug pharmaceutical company, right? And she brings out the whiteboard and she's breaking down how much this drug cost over time, how it's impacted, because she's a representative of Orange County, and she says this is how it's impacted the seniors who may need this drug, who may not qualify to be able, like when they pay out of pocket. And this is how you've benefited and you've been able to put that money in your pocket, right? And I'm like, man, I see that video because AOC puts it on her Twitter, and I'm like, AOC, Eon Omar, they are like my king representatives of what I see as leadership for the future. What I would, if I'm blessed to have daughters, may I have the ability to raise them and instill those values of truth, honor, and respect for your people that they showcase on the daily, right? So I'm looking at this video and she going in, she going off, she pull out the whiteboard, she breaking down the math. It's real simple math. We talk about a man getting $500,000 off of people suffering in pain when it comes to cancer. I've lost family members to cancer and most of them were women. So now I'm sitting here in this position. I'm like, yo, if we really want to talk about equality and fairness, I think we really gotta like have women take the lead. So what y'all think about that? Couple
Hands down.
thousand years of women run leadership with men taking the minority stake and being able to show up.
I just want to ask, why now? Is it like minorities are treated differently or something? Are women not treated equally? I mean, does equality bother some people for some reason?
I mean, I don't think women are given any equal measure in this world. And I've always had issue with that, right? But the thing is that I think people think of equality as being on like 50-50. But I'm like, if we really take time into account, like men have had such a long head start of what civilization and kind of government looks like in control that it's not enough to say we just got enough women at the table. It's important to say for me, y'all all need to be at the table and need to be like 3 of us amongst 500, right? Like we talking about wars have been started by men. Men have gone to war and died. And there's nothing but men around. When I look at like if I look at the UK and I see their messy haired prime minister and he's on TV talking about we don't want things to go back the way they were. And I'm like, you're an idiot. And then I go and I look at Japan and I see, oh, it's another man and he has to step down. Oh, you just another man. And then when I see Belarus and the explosion, I see who they talking to another man. And then when I keep looking at all these CEOs and I look at the top 10 people who've made billions of dollars in this past 10 years, it's a bunch of men. It's like one woman from Walmart and her daddy is the man that started Walmart. So really you just benefiting from another man. So to me, I'm just seeing a bunch of men and I'm like, yo, maybe we should do this differently. Maybe equality looks like giving women the reins to run it because we've already run it. I'm looking at the fires and the smoke. I'm looking at a pandemic. I'm looking at all these men had these conversations going rah, rah, rah. And I'm like, you know what? I know I mean, not to denounce those that didn't have a mother, right? But I know there's a lot of mothers out there. It's not to denounce the fathers, it's not to denounce the single fathers, but I'm just saying, when I look at this society and I look at what's been done, and I really think about who's going to put the family first, I mean, it's a lot more big mamas out there, grannies, grandmamas holding it down for generations of family than I can say for anybody. I mean, just keep it 100. The double X chromosome means y'all live longer by default. I mean, when we look at who gets to live longer, it's women when it comes to just science, right? So if I'm going to look at it from that scale, and then I'm going to look at what's going on, and the deadline for online registration is October 19th. So my bad, y'all. Misinformation, miscommunication, it's all within my head. I be thinking of stuff, not really paying attention. That's a non sequitur, but I had to get back to it because I would feel like it's a disservice if I didn't say it. But women, they should be the ones kind of like, y'all can hold it down. Like, look, I'm happy in the minimal sense. And that's because I got to live in a world where men have decided what is the value of time and all these other systems because they said I could just beat you up. But now we all equal, because when you look at a pandemic, it ain't no missile, ain't no gun, ain't no fist. Cough, cough, wheeze, wheeze, you in the hospital. All right. Sneeze, sneeze, you gone. That's it. So to me, yo, let me just, I'm out. Yo, hey, lady, take over. I'm out. That's how I feel. So I'm just saying, like, I'm in the seat of, let's get a good, I don't know, 10,000 years, you know. Okay, maybe 25. I don't know. But y'all can work it out. I mean, when we come to just equating within Jesus times and eras, we got
When it come to
2,000 years.
when it come to good ideas, we got a limit as men on what we can do. Um, because we just hit a wall for some reason. We just seem to hit a wall, and ego gets in the way. Egocentrism gets in the way. Masculinity gets in the way. Pride gets in the way, and the ears turn off. Um, we see that in a debate where folks are just not listening to each other, and it's three men on TV, all not listening to each other, and it's not just past due or past time for women to run things. It's really just what we need, and I think it's important. Like, you learn a lot more, I think, listen to the way a woman sees the world, which is more complex than the way men see the world. Um, and we put a negative stigma on complex, but the world is complex and life is complex. And if you only understand just this small scope of, what life can be, what life is, as a man, then there's a whole lot you're missing. And if you can't, if you're making decisions for a country, for a people, for a group of people, with a limited scope, then you probably can't, not the one to make the best decisions. There's probably someone who can make better decisions than you. And I always thought a quarterback is putting the ball in the best player's hands, um, not being the best player on the team. And right now, the quarterbacks are failing. And, it's about time that we, select a new GM to bring in, new leaders, new decision makers, and, put the best players in politics, in the game.
I'm not going to discount somebody for their ideas, man, female, cisgender. I'm going to say there's enough growth to be had for everyone to express themselves. No one should be discounted because of their gender or lack thereof, or a choice of not identifying as such. I just want to give a memoriam to the life and work of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the notorious RBG, because she was a woman in leadership for this country. And she paved the way for every working mother. She not only was a lawyer and had a family, had a child, which was unheard of for her lifespan. She paved the way for working mothers to be able to maneuver the way that now maneuver in the best way that we have seen as of yet. Because let's just face it, when it comes to maternity leave and all that, there needs to be more time for maternity leave. That's my segue. But I will say that yes, there are more seats at the table for women. And I'm going to share a little bit because Sin talked about it, how he's enraged. I'm enraged as a woman because this past week has been horrific. If we can just talk about Breonna Taylor and the ruling that they had, that the policemen involved, administratively, there are no handcuffs on those murderers. In fact, they only got a slap on the wrist for disturbing disturbing the neighbors, for defacing the neighbor's property, not for raping her for her very life. And that's in no means poetic. And on that same day that ruling came out, Mr. Tory Lanez, if we can talk about pop culture a little bit, Mr. Tory Lanez allegedly accused, and he did, shoot Megan Thee Stallion in the ankle. How does this relate? Because he disrespected a Black woman. And if that act doesn't seem wrong to you, he capitalized and profited on the fact that he lied about shooting her and released an album just on the same day that all of this is transpiring in America, the America that we love. Excuse me for my sniffle. No, I do not have COVID. Needless to say, just to bring it back full circle, there's a lot of change that needs to happen. I want to acknowledge you two gentlemen as saying that there's needs to be a change in the narrative that's being told. And I just want to thank you for allowing me to share my perspective and share my narrative.
Always, June, always.
As always, it's always appreciated. And you only highlight the fact that yeah, women should run things. I'm just gonna keep saying it. I'm just gonna keep saying it. I mean, you're right. You are right. But I will stand on this level of ignorance until they get rid of me. I will stand on this ignorance. This ignorance right here, this ignorance right here is real, and you can't get rid of it. It can't be banished. This is as old and crusty as Donnie T in his face. So as
Look,
far as
I was told a woman could never be president because she was too emotional. If emotional doesn't wrap up last night's debate, I don't know.
No. We need emotions. We need emotions. That wasn't emotions. That was narcissism. That was straight up. That was like that was mental health at a deficit. We need emotions. We all live with emotions. I I done sat and watched my dad drink for years to literally suppress his emotions and trauma that he went through from being in a civil war. Like, come on, we talking about what? I done seen my uncle do the same. I done seen my uncles do the same. So to sit up there, I done seen my cousins do the same. Like, what we really talking about? We talking about emotions? I'm sitting here on the phone yelling at them. Bruh, get at it. Do this, do that. Rah, 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 rah. Emotions, we all got emotions. The difference is, I can remember very, 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 very fondly my mother said, it's okay to be angry. What's not okay is what you decide to do if it's harming someone else.
I like how it was your mother who said that and
I'm
who had
just saying.
that wisdom.
I love my dad. I love my father. He gave me so much. But I'm looking at I'm looking at the past 1,000 years and I'm looking at the history books I've had to read over time. I'm looking at all that. So to me, I'm not gonna sit there in front. It needs to be what it needs to be. Oh, people telling me I'm having technical issues, so I'm gonna have to like see what happens if this makes a difference. Does it sound good? Like I'm coming in cool. Okay. As I was saying, for those that didn't know, I'm gonna give a little to the I'm ignorant, and I'm ignorant because I refuse to believe we can really have a conversation on equality until we've sat in a different place of disadvantagedness. That's me. That's ignorant to say. It's ignorant to believe. I admit it. I know it. I can acknowledge it. And I know in my heart of hearts, as much as I may fight for that level of ignorance, the reality of seeing that ignorance may never be seen. But I have to say it. I do think that we as a civilization owe it to our kids of the future, our children of the future, to see what a world would look like if it was run by women. Whether you identify as a woman, whether you born a woman, if you in your mind see anything as being from being a woman, please by all means step up and take over. Because I, for one, can't sit up here and continue on as it's been. It's insanity. This is insanity. Like to sit there and really think that, oh, it's gonna change, it's gonna get better this time. Every time we got a dude who even get close to talking about something real, y'all shoot him, y'all kill him, y'all denounce him, y'all find a way to discredit him, you take him out, right? We got a man who's sick in the head who now, for the sake of posterity and legal terms and understanding the ramifications of how people will manipulate words, we're talking in the alleged sense based off of literally no evidence other than words that are spewed amongst the technological sphere that this individual who is a singer from Canada has been accused of shooting a rapper, a female rapper from Texas, right? From America, the United States, right? So allegedly. Now, to me, if those are the allegations that are presented before you, if I'm sitting in the seat and there's accusations to be made and I'm not in jail, I'm not in jail. You mean to tell me there's a common sphere of conversation and words and communication? I know dudes who literally made the wrong music video, and then 6 months later, it turns into they got arrested in a RICO case, right? This is one individual who's an R&B singer who allegedly committed this atrocious violent act, and to me, when I seen this woman silence Meg Thee Stallion, right? Like, first off, I love Meg Thee Stallion as an artist and what she represents and what she brings to the culture. But when I seen her silence, I was like, "Is she really holding it down for this? Like she holding it down. She could take this, run with it. I done seen how messy things can get in the world. I know how messy people can be, and Meg Thee Stallion really isn't saying anything. It's on me to take a seat back and Pete would take her lead. I'm taking her lead. 'Cause she's the one that's been harmed. She's the one that was put in danger. And if that's the level and that's the approach, I'm as a person, I'm taking her lead. Let's see what happens. Then she feels compelled to say something because of what is being said by others who are putting out information, right? We live in the information age, right? Some people say being informed is not knowing the facts, and I believe that is true. It's so easy to build up hype and hysteria just by putting out some imagery, just by putting out some words. So we have these two artists who have brands, who have a lot on the line, and one of them has been accused of doing something that is supremely horrible, which is atrocious, right? And now there's a narrative going around, and this person, given that, Meg Thee Stallion, she's in the industry, she would know more than anyone else. Are they putting out a false narrative? It's one thing to be silent, it's another thing to not keep it real. It's another thing to try and manipulate what is actually truth, right? Because I know for myself, I'll keep things silent before I tell a lie. A lie isn't gonna keep privacy. A lie is now me trying to distort the perception of what is. I'm not here to distort what is. I'm here to either present what is or keep it off the table. And Meg Thee Stallion is trying to maintain some level of privacy, right? Trying to maintain some secrecy. There's nothing wrong. But telling a lie, well, if we being honest, when you
Gotta
gonna
combat that.
again, what you gonna do? You gotta defend yourself. And so I see Meg Thee Stallion defend herself. I see her speak on it, right? People want to know why and how. Trust me, God gonna do what God need to do at every moment, and it ain't got nothing to do with you. People gonna sit up there and accuse, they're gonna make questions, they're gonna sit up there and say, how does this possible? The impossible is made possible through God. If you don't have to believe it, right? I'm not Christian, I'm agnostic, I'm whatever. I believe in a higher power. I believe in a universe that is beyond my grasp and my understanding. And I do believe there is some level of order in this chaos. It's just how much of that got to do with me versus how much that got to do with us. Meg Thee Stallion being a representative of people, of black women at a time when black women are in danger, at a time when black women, their lives are threatened, when you go look at any you can go look at any race, and I'm not talking about races and races, I'm talking about there's a thing called the equality race, right? Where they talk about privilege and they talk about the level of access, and they put people of different genders, different ethnicities, they put them in the same playing field, and they ask them questions, right? And the further you get to go is when you can say yes to a question, right? And what ends up happening a lot of times when you watch these, black people end up in the back. And I never forget when I seen this black gay woman in the back. She was all the way in the back because every question asked only further show that she's at a deficit when it comes to everyone else in front of her. So we live in this world where this is the truth, right?
Yeah.
And see it is true because I got family. I done seen what they went through. I know how things are, right? So now we're gonna sit up here and we're gonna have this man who ain't even from here disrespect her at a time that we sitting here watching another woman get her life snatched. You think you need to be a part of the conversation? We don't need to hear from you right now. We don't need to hear what you feel or what you thinking or where you coming from. I know dudes who done lied to my face. I done been in high school and they done told me the most disrespectful things that they did with my girlfriend, only to find out at the end of the year they lied. So if I come in with that knowledge, knowing that's how it could be as a child, and I know that there's people who haven't even grown within themselves to escape their childlike behaviors, their childish ways, I'm not gonna sit up there and be a fool. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, ain't gonna happen again. You sit there try to play the narrative, the false narrative, you try to spin it around, you try to make money off of it. I'm sorry. We gotta have boundaries. We have to be clear. We gotta really be on that Malcolm X moment. I don't know who gonna be the leader. I'm hoping it's a woman, right? I'm hoping. I'm just saying, right? They say no one man should have all that power, right? Y'all remember in the movie, he was like, everybody just left. I'm just saying, your mama come through with a chancla or she come through with that, I got the belt, right? What you gonna do? You go into your room. I'm gonna go handle what needs to be done, right? So I'm just saying to me, when I look at this situation and I'm seeing that women are placed in this vulnerable position due to the destructive nature of the world that we've created, right? We being men, that's just what we do. Like, I'm not gonna sit there in front. Like you don't gotta tell me about the tea leaves. I see the tea leaves, right? I don't know how many women generals who done went out there and was snatching heads. I just don't. I don't know how many videos I can even see in a classroom of women cutting off women's heads. Like it just doesn't happen because guess what? In my reality, in my world, I've seen it happen and it was all men every time. So to me, I'm gonna be biased because I grew up in this world and I have to pay attention and observe what's being done. So, I'm just saying we got to really think about these things critically. What is our participation level, right? It's sad enough she had to get shot. and we had to sit there and even try and process what's going on because TMZ they don't waste no time. They be like dun dun dun, and they be like the information. This is what we have collected. Now we're gonna sit up here and we're gonna tell you every little bit of details. Right? You can't even die in peace. They're gonna be there. They're gonna find a way. Well, let's get the information. Right? What happened to Kobe
Yeah,
Bryant? We're gonna investigate
yeah.
in every little piece and we're gonna spread all the information around. We're not gonna give you no sense of privacy, no sense of dignity. We're gonna let you die on the highest pedestal in front of the world and broadcast it and make money off of you.
And they just passed the law that first responders, cannot take photos of, incidents where someone dies or there's an accident. This is a law just passed in California.
Sick, sad
It's
world.
it's disheartening to come to the realization that we even have to have a law like for that. Could you imagine how many times this now law has been broken in times before?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I mean, in
disgusting.
it's a digital age, and people are still in a place of climbing on top of each other. They're still in a place of if there's someone below me, everything is okay. They're in a place of if I can push someone else down or capitalize off someone else's misfortune, then it's a good thing. Even if it puts me in a worse position, as long as there's somebody under me, it's worth making that choice to press someone else down. And you know, we're just in a place where I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, where you got folks who, want to sell, toilet paper. It's like because they bought so much and they know there's a demand and people who need it can't get it, and so then they're thinking I bought so much that I could sell it to other people, and we're still in that space where I got there. People say think I got there first, so I can take advantage for my benefit, not thinking about the families, not thinking about what people are going through, people who have lost, not thinking about people who are harmed, and as people spread information, especially a lot of misinformation um, around, um, where the the falsities of a story spread faster than the truths, um, where people just latch on to the most audacious, most ridiculous um, incident and say, this is the truth. They say it loud, they say it first, whether they're right or not, and for the clout, for likes, for attention, for validation. Um, Again, right, to promote an album and to lift themselves up while pressing somebody else down. And also shout out to Megan Thee Stallion, who's an anime fan, who's a you know overt anime fan, and one of those people who she it's funny because in a rap she's a storyteller, um and Japanese anime is about storytelling, and dialogue, and active listening, and so it's important that those values as us anime fans, we push that out there, that stories are important, everyone's story is important, um and the differences in our story are what make us alike. Um, and it's important that we remember that if you have a story and it's different from someone else's, they probably have a story that'll impact you, um, and they're both of value, they're both valid, and they're both worth hearing. And if you listen long enough, you'll find them both riveting. Um, and so it's important that we continue to listen to each other, and again, not silence non-males for just living differently and having different stories and having different variants of the human experience, because it's it's really enriching and fulfilling to hear someone else's story and learn from their growth and their struggles. June June is so happy right now. Like, I wish I could smile like she's smiling. um, but she's got some sound things going on. Oh, welcome back, Jim.
If you need a man in June, it's all good. Like, you know what I'm saying? Lead the way.
Look, thank you so much, you guys. I mean, hey, I just want to give a shout out to all of our listeners out there and those who are on our who are viewing in. And no, proceed, please.
Okay, yeah,
Don't mind me.
everyone who's not watching this on video, all our audio listeners, we appreciate you, and you can't see all the facial expressions and all the body language, but we just want to always make sure that we give all our hosts, our co-hosts, a chance to speak and share their stories, because I think what really makes this show and this experience, a lyrical ones, valuable is our different and varying scopes and our perspectives and the way we see the world, and even when we're in different time zones or different cities, or different front lines fighting a battle for love and light, it's important that we hear from each other, so we know how the battle is going, and we know where we can support each other. We know where we can get stronger. We know where we can vary in the way that we fight the battle, because sometimes you have to switch battlefronts. Sometimes you have to go support your teammates or your colleagues, your fellow lyrical ones. Sometimes you have to make sure that they're in a good space, no matter what they're going through, whether they're in school, whether they're entrepreneurs, whether they're um, nonprofit leaders, whether they're working in a public office. It's important that we see people doing good work and acknowledging good work and seek to do the good work with them. Not just because it can feel lonely at times, but also because we all feel lonely at times, and the work can make you weary, and the effort and the energy that you put into your work can make you weary. And if you ever been weary, if you ever tried to be better at something, if you ever tried to go through something, then you got friends and you got support in us. And part of the reason why we do this every week is so that we can have this moment to share with you guys, and have empathy with each other, but also that we promote empathy um, whenever we experience this world, and things that happen in media, things that happen in our scope in this digital age. We have a chance to go through it together. We have a chance to process it together. We have a chance to also release it, um, and we also have a chance to change it together. And I hope we always remember that. We always come from a place of promoting that we can win, and we can do better, and we can grow together.
No, that's real. I mean, it is essential that people, practice empathy. It is transformative, it's foundational, it's essential, and it's not practiced enough. It's not shared enough. It's we leave things as an afterthought. You know, do what's hard. I always say the pyramids took so much to build, so much sacrifice to create, but it's still here. It takes nothing to destroy it. All it takes is some well placed explosive and it's gone. But the monument and the majesticness of what is created has lasted for years. And it's not lost in how magnificent it is. When we see it, when we witness it, we get to experience it. But that's how I look at doing what's hard. If we do what's hard, it has the ability to last. It has the ability to be sustained. And that's the thing, right? If we're really thinking about where the consistency lies, it lies in the repetition, right? It lies in the ability to stick with what is hard. And I think that's key when it comes to thinking about these conversations where we have every week, and especially right now in this political climate where change is upon us. Maybe it's not totality, but it is change. And I want to be super mindful that at the end of the day, it's not it's not to get the one up on another person. It's to better yourself, right? It's to take care of you. We always talk about how ego is a trap, right? It's your personal demon. It's your own devil. Getting trapped in your ego can create your own hell, right? And so, to me, when I'm thinking about where we are and what's going on and what I have to experience in front of me, I'm trying to stay out of hell. I'm trying to stay out of my own personal torment. I'm trying to stay out of my own sense of despair. I'm hitting many levels for many different reasons, but at the end of the day, it's about wellness. It's about health. If you find that through love, if you find that through passion, so be it. But really understand what health means to you and be respectful to the differences that people see with their own health. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes we want to tell a person what they need before they tell us what they need, right?
Mm.
We can't do that. As much as we could say drink that water, if they choose not to drink it, that's a choice that they had that we just have to accept. That's something that is hard. We can have a conversation. We could tell them how it makes us feel, but what we can't do is tell them they have to do it, right? You need to do this. If they not your child, if you not raising them, if you not putting the clothes on their back and the food in their mouth, you really got to take into consideration. Maybe I should just tell you how I feel about your choices and see what we need to do. Is this something that I can accept, or do I need to create boundaries between us? Because I realize we're growing apart. These are the conversations that we don't have, but need to happen. Because if I take the time to hear what you feel, then I understand. And then I can make the best decision for me to take care of myself. Because right now, what I'm looking at is a world that doesn't care about taking care of itself. Because if you take care of yourself, you know how to take care of others. And if you know how to take care of others, then we lose the sense of separation, division, and kind of these, it's not boundaries, it's borders, right? There's a difference. We're talking about the difference between knowing your capacity and then you placing limitations on others because you feel uncomfortable about their growth. Because that's what I see. I don't see me embracing growth. I see people creating limitations of what you're trying to expand upon. You want freedom? You want liberty? Well, we're going to put a limit on that. You want wealth? You want the ability to grow? Well, we're going to put a limit on that. If we can't do it directly, we're going to find the back way. We're going to find the alleyway. We're going to find the back door. We're going to come in from the side window, right? So in this context, we're talking about politics, we're talking about power, we're talking about people, and we're talking about practice. These are fundamental to us being able to get what we need, right? You're trying to produce the fruit from the tree, but you got to put in the work to take care of it first. And if you're not starting at the roots, then you missing the whole work. And I think that's kind of where that kind of leaves me in the sense of, it is important, like understand what empathy is, right? To feel from another's perspective, to respect the differences, because we all have them, right? As much as we share the same air, I know over here on the West Coast it's a little bit more smoky. I have a different level of appreciation if you're in a different place and your air is a little bit more clear. If you have a little bit more oxygen than I got, I'm gonna be a little bit more appreciative when my time comes back around to have the oxygen. And if I see you just taking up all the oxygen in the room and you're not thinking about it, well, maybe I should tell you how it makes me feel. So we can have a conversation and have some understanding. Because that's where it's at, right? I can't tell you stop breathing. For what? We losing people that can't even breathe. They either choking us or they getting diseases, right?
Right. And the positive action language is, can you give me some? Right. Instead of stop breathing. Right. Express your own needs. Right. It's not that, I please don't do that. It's more, please do this. And that positive action language and expressing what you need allows people to adjust to you, allows you to adjust to others. It allows you to compromise. It allows you to build together. Um, by expressing your needs. And it's a essential thing for our growth. It's imperative that we find ways to express our needs as a people, as communities, as marginalized people, as people of color, as minorities, as citizens, as freedom fighters, as activists, as teachers, as students, as brothers and sisters and siblings, um, as relatives on this planet, um, as cohabitators on this planet. Expressing your needs is just like the flower opening up its petals to receive the sun. Uh, it's the only way it grows.
No, that's real. I mean, it's crazy just because it's easy to get wrapped up in kind of the social media aspect. And I haven't watched this yet. Have you watched The Social Dilemma?
Nah, not yet.
See, that's the thing. See, I haven't watched it either because I've been busy. And when I say I've been busy, I mean I've been making music as much as possible. I realize that I've invested a lot of time and I've invested a lot of energy in the past 15 plus years in music. And I've never dedicated like I thought I needed a manager. That's what I thought I needed. I was like, I need a manager. I was like, no, I don't need a manager. I need to better manage my time. I'm right now in a place where, as much as I've created the foundation to having a business and I've created these kind of practices around developing and producing content, I realize my time is the thing that I need to really harness and control, because I'm not looking for no one to sign me. I'm not looking for anybody to tell me what to do. I'm looking to really be mindful of my time. That's what it's all about. So, in this time period since like August, I must have did like 30 plus songs. 30 plus songs that I didn't have before. The idea is to release a song every week for the rest of the year. There's 52 weeks in a year. I wanted to get halfway through the year. That means 26. And then I could take a break and say, okay, let me work on videos. Let me work on this. Let me work on that. But the thing that I realized, because I've been working with other people, was I'm in a state right now where, as horrible as this pandemic is, it's helped me create the boundaries I need to separate myself from people, to give me that space, to hold me accountable to being disciplined. I don't think I've ever been this healthy and this mindful of my health. I remember the first time I got a six pack, I was coming out of a breakup and I was doing jujitsu, Muay Thai, boxing. I was working out every day. I was putting in that energy. I was putting in that work. I was going to the track and I would run sprints. I would do it for like 2 to 3 miles. And the thing was, it wasn't sustainable because all my time and energy was going to my physical fitness. It wasn't going to my overall well being. Even though my physical fitness was connected to my well being, I wasn't really getting in tune with my mind. I wasn't giving me space for all of the different things that I find joy and happiness in. So now when I run the miles, right, I'm still running the miles, but I'm more mindful of how often I run them, right? I don't even eat the same, right? At that time, I was eating whole wheat pasta, big bowl, got the turkey meatballs from Trader Joe's. I was going ham. I was like, we going ham. I'm eating Greek yogurt every day. I'm like, we doing the biz. Now I can't do that. I gotta pay attention to my body. I gotta adapt. I gotta evolve. I gotta grow. Right. I can't sustain those things if my body's telling me something different. Like, yo, you eat that Greek yogurt, it might be great protein, but you about to get a headache and it's gonna take you out for the rest of the day. Choices. I could give up and I say, you know what, I quit. Or I could rise to the challenge and say, let me get to know myself in a different way. Let me find out what is that I need. Maybe sunflower seeds is a good alternative to getting some protein in the day. All right, let's put it in a cup. We're gonna take that. Right. Everything doesn't mean you have to stop. Right. Just because you're presented with a challenge or obstacle, or just because you get presented with something that may cause a little bit of harm, doesn't mean it has to be continued harm. Maybe it's a time to challenge yourself to grow. Maybe it's a time to challenge yourself to think critically, right? Everyone has a criticism. Not everyone's thinking critically. We can critique someone else's decisions. We could look at them and, oh, they phony. They fronting on the gram. I see them. I see what they doing. Oh, they got money. Oh, they ain't really got money. They rented that car. That ain't their car. Oh, look at them. They stunned. Oh, they think they happy. right? We could do that all day. But when you go look in the mirror and you look at yourself and you don't look at what you could look like, but you look at who you are in that moment, do you really love yourself? Are you really accepting yourself? Are you embracing yourself? Are you taking your clothes off, getting booty naked in the mirror and saying, I love me? Are you loving you? You really got to think about it, right? Look, he getting ready. He like, I've been living for this day. What you talking about? We going off. I know how the
I was
Virgos is.
I was
Virgos don't
I was
care.
made for this.
Exactly. Virgos is like, we built Ford tough. Like you talk about pickup truck, put the boulder on our back. We're gonna run with it. But the whole thing is that it's really about people getting in tune with themselves and really loving themselves and figure out what that love looks like, understanding your love language, understanding how to communicate that love language to others, really being clear, right? It's through empathy, it's through practice, it's through challenging yourself, it's through that criticalness, right? You don't have to be demeaning and self-deprecating. I mean, if you're from the city, you're from the Bay, you know more than anybody, we could be self-deprecating more than anyone. We so quick to put ourselves down before anyone else, and then we'd be like, we ain't really got it like that. But reality, nah.
We got it
All
like
of
that.
us, we got it like that. We did it. We make it happen. And I'm just saying, it's important for you to think about what is that for you? What is I can make it happen look like? What is I got it like that look like? Because you don't have to use that as a way to put another person down. As much as you can look at yourself yesterday and say, I'm better than that person from the day before. I'm better than I was last week. I've grown. I love me more. I've learned to love me more. I'm going to put myself first, right? Self care, you could say what you want about it and call it what you want to call it, but is self care really buying something to say it's self care? Or is it really taking care of yourself to ensure that this is sustainable, right? We could connect that to finances, right? There's people who believe if you can't buy it twice, you can't afford it. And I ain't saying, oh, I got enough money to just cover the rent. I'm like, do you have enough money to cover the rent and 6 to 9 months of your income just in case you got to leave your job? Or how about what if your job leaves you, right? Have you thought about that day? A lot of times we'll say what we deserve because we're thinking about somebody else. Well, I seen what they got. I could get that. I deserve that too. But when you think about it, they ain't in your shoes, they ain't lived your life. So what's the point? Why am I comparing myself to somebody else and what they have? Why am I looking at what someone else has? Why am I thinking about that? Are you really secure within yourself? And what does security look like? If security means, you know what, we kind of living on the edge, we getting by every month, then so be it. Do you, by all means. For me, if I can't buy three, I gotta let it be. I'm willing to go for the rice and beans because I seen how many people who come from a different country who have been able to improve and better themselves through that mentality, right? That practice of, do I need this? Is it a necessity?
Oh, I thought you were talking about that rice and beans mentality because I was like, she, I can go ahead into a couple of those countries right now, gentrify with a whole subway connect
Rice and
of
beans.
rice
You
and
see, rice and
beans.
beans, right? We got
Everybody's
we got brown
community for
rice and we
lunch.
got black beans.
That
That's
I'm
me all day.
certain
Brown and black. Holla at your boy. I go to Chipotle to get that high salt, but what I say, give me a little bit of brown rice and can I get extra black beans? Can I get that extra black beans? Because
it's about the sofritas
I'm
though.
just saying, you know what I'm saying? Frijoles, you feel me? Arroz, you know what I'm saying? We out here, we getting it. But I'm just saying it's time we start acknowledging and challenging and informing, right? We didn't have these conversations growing up. We didn't have conversations about buying homes and down payments and taking out loans. We didn't have conversations, when my mama bring up money, it's like she wore glasses. So what she do when she bought me some shoes, she take the glasses off and I'm like, Mom, what happened? Did I do that? Did I? All right, I don't want them shoes then. I don't want to see you look like that. I don't need that. I'm cool, right? When Christmas roll around, I remember my cousins. I didn't know this at the time, but like, how can I put it? Now, this is beyond the statute of limitations. People done did what they had to do to resolve these matters. But when I looked at some of my cousins and I looked at what they got, and I was like, Why they got so much of that? And I don't have that much of that. And then I learned later, oh, you had people in your life who was involved in certain things that could afford that, but it wasn't sustainable, right? So I look at my own house, and if you can't peep game, when I say sustainable, that means there's a cutoff in time where you was getting it and you ain't getting it. And if you read between the lines, 9 times out of 10, you forced to sit down. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. So for me in my household, it wasn't, no one was forced to sit down. It was literally like, mom and dad go to work. This is what they could afford. This is what they could make. So when it came time for the holidays and they was like, what you want? I'm looking at the cheapest thing. I'm looking at the thing that has the least economic impact because I don't want to see my mom take her glasses off and be like, I don't ever want to see that. I don't want to cause the person who loves me any sense of harm. And if it could resonate with me, like it looks uncomfortable, like you don't look happy. That's not a smile on your face when you trying to buy me this. You know what? I'm gonna ease up. So I got to see things in a different perspective. But when I would go into the schools and I would talk and I would say, how many of y'all have had a conversation about where your money going? And they're like, yeah, no, I don't have it. I'm like, how many of your parents be like, talk about money and be like, you could tell they stress. Everybody raise their hand in the room, right? I'm like, who knows anything about stocks? Don't nobody know nothing about stocks, right? Who knows about a savings account? Nobody. About getting interest off of money that you save. No one knows, right? So there's a barrier in information, and I'm here to say, okay, if we're talking about wealth, it's multi-generational, how I can have impact on my kids, right? So they can have access to something, then I need to understand what are the fundamentals of those things. Owning property, right? You buy a house in the 70s, you buy it for $70,000. That house now is worth $1.1 million. That's wealth. That is wealth, right? But no one talks to us about wealth. So when grandmama died, we selling off the house, we split the money, and we buy things that depreciate in value. We don't go and say, all right, I'm gonna go and invest in a business and I'm gonna take stake in that, or I'm gonna go and save this and I'm gonna try and get some bonds for my kids so the money can grow. And when they hit 18, 20, whatever, I'm gonna start a trust for them. We don't, yeah, that ain't the grandmama died, I got a new car. Oh, grandmama died. We sold the house, and now we moved out to Antioch, and we living out here now, right? We moved out the way, right? That's good. Keep the house, keep that house, because people, it's gonna keep. I mean, they gonna try and hit us with these diseases. Oh, there's still gonna be some babies coming out. It's gonna see some quarantine babies. Okay, we're gonna see some quarantine babies in this thing. So what that mean? That means there's gonna be expansion, and where you live now is gonna be coveted and highly sought after property at some point in time. So, right, from looking at politics and them trying to dictate to us our lives and the control of where we gonna go, right? Talking about private prisons and a coup that has been started by businessmen to profit off of black and brown lives to be in those institutions so people could get paid, right? We talking about people who done had to sit down. You see the connection if you was paying enough attention. You see how it all came back around. So when you think about it, those politicians, they made their millions of dollars, whether they paying 750 or they paying 3.3 million. They done made their money. They done paid their taxes. What we gonna do? We gonna sit there and say it ain't possible, or we gonna say, you know what, I'm gonna rise to the occasion. I'm gonna challenge myself. I'm gonna see that because I'm not just doing it for myself. I'm doing it for my kids. I'm not just doing it for this moment. I'm doing it for the 5 years later when the next pandemic comes. Because guess what? This is the new norm, right? We ain't talking about, oh, things are gonna get better. No, we hope they get better, but we prepare for the worst. I'm trying to make sure that we come out of this together. I'm not trying to leave nobody behind. I'm not trying to leave nobody hanging. You have a choice to decide and make the choices as you see fit, but it would hurt me to know that you can't do what's necessary to take care of you. It would hurt me to know that you can't provide for your family, because I'll be the first to say, I can't provide for no one else but myself right now. The hope is to be able to provide for others. The hope is to be able to work towards that day when I could create an infrastructure and a support system that can be more inclusive and sustainable to supporting more than just myself. But it takes the discipline. It takes that doing the hard work. It takes the repetition and the growth in that to find the essence of how do I get it to extend and go and excel. versus going to decline and falling off. So, I'm just saying, people, let some women run some things. You feel me? Let them kind of, don't be stressing your mamas out, right? Don't stress your granny out, right? Don't stress your sister out. Don't stress them out, right? Because when I look at the debate and I see these two men going at it, they just talking. I'm just like, what we really doing? What we really talking about? Like, are we talking about our wealth and growth in our community? Are we talking about defining what we want for ourselves and being able to go after it and have an open dialogue that may be uncomfortable, that may be frustrating? Because I mean, I don't like that I can quote this, but it is true. I don't really know who Phil Knight is, but I know who Michael Jordan is. I'm just saying, look it up. Look up who making what, right? I don't like to say this, but it's true. Hennessy and Louis Vuitton and Fendi and Fenty, they all belong to the same company that the Hublot watch belongs to, right? That's the same company. I don't know who's the head of the company. I just know that when I see people buying those things and endorsing those things and advertising those things on the gram, right? Like, I got the Hublot, it's iced out, blah blah blah, and I got the Hennessy, and I got the Belvedere, and my girl, she wear Fenty makeup, and I got her a Fendi bag, and she got a Louis belt on. Well, that's all the same people making money off of you, right? I'm just saying they making money off of you, right? The value depreciates on the belt, but the stock went up when you bought it. I'm just saying, think about it. If you're gonna get it, you might as well own every end of it. Don't just own one part of it. Like, you might as well get the cow too, because they gotta go and get the leather. So, just saying, get in on it before they get in on you. Because when you go and try to turn the belt in, maybe like, oh, this lost $100 because you wore it out.
Shit about the cow.
Oh, man, should have bought the cow. I'm just saying, or maybe the stock, because I mean, they say if you diversify enough, and this is, we making mass generalizations, which is an atrocity in itself, but I'm just saying, you could make 6% profit year over year. And if you figure out how to hit the windfall where that 6% covers your expenses, are you really working, or is your money just working for you? Because if your living expenses, we talking about your mortgage, maybe your rent, maybe the cost of living, getting gas, the car, your kids, and 3% of that 6% increase every year just so happens to cover it, that means you got another 3% that's growing, right? Do the math. Would you rather get the penny that doubles every day for a month, or take the $2 million? Ask yourself, right? Just don't think about it. Don't do the math. Would you rather get the penny that doubles every day, right? I'm going to give you a penny, and then tomorrow it's going to be 2. And then after that, it's going to be 4. Or do you just take the 2 million up front? Because at the end of the 30 days, you're going to be looking at 5 million, $10 million. But what we do, we get that 2 million because it's right there in our face. We can't wait the 30 days. Why wait the 30 days? So I'm just saying, do the hard work, right? Vote, be a part of the system, get to know it. Let's talk about it. If you're interested, hit us up. You can find me on Instagram, send.arsenio. Let me know how you feeling. Let me know what you think. Comment. Let me see what is it that you need, because we're willing to go find out, discover, explore, and understand, and bring that information back. I'm not saying we know it all, but I'm saying I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to learn with you. I'm willing to struggle with you. I'm willing to fail and find out. So let me know. You know what I mean?
Hands down.
So any closing thoughts, people? Anything people
I
feeling?
like that. Fail and find out. I'm about that life.
Fail and
Kids, you
find
got
out.
questions? You got questions about wellness, about economic wellness, whatever that looks like, spiritual wellness, physical, mental wellness, emotional wellness? Hit me up. ALFLUENT. That's the handle. Twitter, Instagram. Junie, where can they find you?
Oh, on the gram, son. JUNEBEELA. BLA. And There's a few of those floating out there, but it's me. When you find mine, okay. Ask me. You can ask me questions. Hey, you can like. I'm not shy. Like we could talk about everything from like pop culture to politics, which is kind of one and the same. So like super philosophical, super conspiracy. I mean, easy. But I'm quite the conversationalist, and I believe our listeners admire that about all that trait in all of us. So I would hope to strike a conversation with one of us, even just one.
Okay. So, just
I did have something weighing heavily on my heart that I wanted to mention during a little spiel I had about women, but I just wanted to shed light that ICE is sterilizing the women that they have in custody, and I just wouldn't feel right moving on with my night, not weighing heavily this platform that we've been given and not saying that. So I just
yeah.
wanted to acknowledge that.
No, definitely. Just so people don't get it messed up, confused, to break it down on any level. When June says sterilize, ICE, right? The what is it? What they stand for? Immigration. What is it called?
Immigration control.
So ICE, right, are one of our bodies of kind of so yeah, immigration and customs enforcement, right? They say that their mission is to protect America from cross-border crime and illegal immigration that threaten our national security, right? So to me, people be mindful that what they're doing right now is their idea of like filling out that mission statement is taking away the ability for women to reproduce and to have children. That's what they're doing, right? So they're not trying to do anything else. So be mindful, okay? So as heavy as those words are, love and peace to everyone, but be mindful of what it is that you're doing, where you at, who you with, and take care of yourself. Okay. So I'll leave on that. Oh wait, we got a little extension time. But we getting is this the moment of
Well,
forgiveness?
no, it's not the moment of forgiveness.
If you ever
Um,
played Mortal Kombat 3, there was this thing called Mercy where you got that little like you could do it and then you get an extra like time to do your fatality. So I'm just like the house passed. So this is information we getting right now. But it is downloaded into the mind. The House passed Savannah's Act, a bill that requires the Department of Justice to strengthen training, coordination, data collection, and other guidelines related to cases of murdered or missing Native Americans. It aims to address the alarming number of cases involving Native women. Now, I mean, we leaving on a heavy note because I don't have all the information, but I seen there was a report of a Native woman in Canada who had posted what was going on in the hospital room on Facebook Live, and they were being demeaned and denigrated and disrespected by the nurses and the hospital staff, and they ended up dying not too long after, right? So I don't have all the information, but right, we're talking about things that
well,
are
this
prevalent.
law, this law was introduced in 2017, named after a young woman who's 22 years old. Her first name was Savannah. She was 8 months pregnant, and her body was found um, in the Red River between the Minnesota and North Dakota borders and the United States. And like crime data about what happened in Native American communities really didn't start to get released by the Department of Justice until 1999. And so this Savannah Act is a step in the right direction as far as training law enforcement, strengthening their efforts, but also so law enforcement because on reservations they have reservation police, and then the FBI also gets involved, and then the the state law enforcement can also be involved, and a lot of times they have different ways of doing things, and often they don't work together, and so it delays efforts, it diminishes or almost stagnates efforts altogether. to where families often feel like they don't get a service done to their loved ones when they disappear. Um, and 80% of Native women, non-males, can expect to uh, be harmed in their lifetime. Um, and it's a crazy amount. They're one of the most endangered and underreported groups as far as homicides and domestic violence goes. And even though this is a heavy note, um, we want to say that things are changing. We have to continue to bring light to the changes. We have to continue to talk about the changes. We have to talk about the small wins and the battles that we win. Toward the war for against inequity. Um, it's making sure that people get what they need, and also that they get the protection that they need. Because if we don't give voices to the voiceless, to the left out and looked over, um, they will continue to disappear. And if they are disappearing, then any of us can. And if they are not receiving the protections that they deserve, that they have the right to, then none of us are. And if they can take them, they can take you. If they can sterilize them, they can sterilize you. And if nobody speaks for them, then you can bet then somebody might not be speaking for you. And so it's important that we continue again to tell each other stories, but it starts with listening to them.
No,
That's
that's
my final thought.
much
18.
appreciated. Much appreciated. Number 18, another one down. Lyrical Ones, episode
This is
8.
a good one.
18 with a bullet.
Bang, bang. So, love and peace to all, and to all a good time. Because, man, that's all we got right now. Some time. So, yeah. Lyrical
Time.
Ones, we is out.